All right, go.
Okay, so I don't know. What sort of social justice issues are you concerned about? Is there anything in particular, either in New York or in the country, that?
Gosh, a variety of things: economic inequality, uh, racial attitudes, um, concerns about respect for people in public discourse. Um, with respect to journalism, I'm concerned about the blurring of the boundary between seeking to be objective and seeking to portray a particular point of view, particularly with the New York Times. Uh, I'm a faithful New York Times reader, but I started reading the Wall Street Journal about a year ago because I was so distressed by the Times' inability to talk about one of the candidates for president's office with any kind of objectivity. Uh, and I didn't disagree with their position, but I felt they weren't being fair in their coverage.
That's interesting. So, could you give an example of their coverage where you felt like it was a bit?
I felt like, everything that Donald Trump did was portrayed as being stupid, bad, and evil. And granted, much of it was. But the idea that he might have, that there were people who were voting for him because they were distressed with the alternative was not something they gave fair coverage to, in my view.
Sure. And what reasons do you think people voted for Donald Trump? What social reasons?
Good question. I think I would go with the view that they felt like they'd been ignored by the media, and that there was a political orthodoxy, which we see in campuses and in major media, which if you are a conservative or a traditionalist, you're thought to be stupid, or are not fully up to speed. And if you were just as smart as we are, you'd think the way we are. And
What does the Wall Street Journal do differently, you think?
the Wall Street Journal, at least to me, seemed to give Trump a fair coverage, saying, look, there are things he's doing. They don't unconditionally endorse what he does, but I felt like they were not constantly trying to make him look stupid, evil, and criminal.
Interesting. And let's see, what do you think of the state of the Republican Party right now and what's going on with that?
Oh, gosh. I'm a traditionalist by nature, but a liberal by education. So I long for the days when there were really thoughtful, conservative Republicans. I think, the latter days of John McCain. I think he's tried to stand up for American principles in a way that are worth being part of the conversation. I didn't vote for him when he was a candidate, but if you were running against Donald Trump, I'd vote for him in a second.
Yeah. And do you think certain issues now in the Republican Party are just, are being pushed to one side? For instance, like all the stuff that's happening with like corporate and that kind of stuff. Do you feel like certain issues the Republicans have put together?
I think it's hard for them to have a president in office who has such a style completely different from the traditions of their party. Trump is not a Republican. He's really an independent who got the endorsement of the Republican Party. So it's a sad business. I guess the person who makes most sense to me in the media is David Brooks, the New York Times op-ed columnist. I really like his focusing on character issues and his saying, look, there's a place for a decent conservative critique of the liberal establishment, but decent is an operative word of that, and open-minded. So he's someone that I respect and admire in the press and in the New York Times.
What did you think of healthcare and how that's going to be?
I think that's very, very complicated. I think the basic problem is we can't afford to do everything that we can do, and whereas in previous generations the issue didn't come up, but now we have to decide that there are things we can do that we can't afford and who should pay for them. Whereas I like the principle that we see in so much of Western Europe of guaranteed medical care, not many people from America go to Western Europe to get medical care. So it's very good basic care, but for more complicated things, not so much. I guess I would like to see people at the end of their lives being comfortable saying, I've had a good run, I'm not going to spend a gazillion dollars to try to extend my life by 6 months, and say, this has happened. People at the beginning of their lives, or young people, I feel completely differently about. It's our belief that the only way to experience ourselves is to have physical life is part of the problem.
So there's like a theory in economics about social care, it presumes an infinity, basically, that the young people will keep subsidizing for the social care of the elderly. Do you think that there's an imbalance there? Do you think young people are getting a rough deal? Do you think old people, how do you feel about it?
I don't think young people are getting a rough deal, and I think when this generation of young people gets old, I'm not sure what they're going to have. But I think, I'm a great believer in hospice care at a certain point, where you say, look, if I've got pancreatic cancer, the chances of my having 10 good years are not very good. So maybe managing my symptoms and my pain and letting me make peace with what has been my life is what I should be doing. If I'm 35, that's different. But I'm 66. I'm at the end of my life, arguably, and should not be spending or should not ask other people to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars so I can live in a nursing home. I mean, I watched my father, who was a smart, thoughtful, good guy, who died drooling, diapered, and demented. He lived too long, and I don't want to do that. So, that being said, I need to go.
My name is Patrick.
Patrick, my name is John.
Nice meeting you, John.
Okay, Patrick,
Have a good day.
good luck with your project.
Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you for your time.